In this video tutorial, you will learn to run the Trust and Endowment Report. The Trust and Endowment Report tracks opening and closing surplus deficits, endowment capital contributions, and endowment units, as well as in-year capital contributions, revenue, expense, and unit activity. This video will show end users how to navigate and run the Trust and Endowment Report, understand the report results, introduce users to 5 pinned reports based on the Trust and Endowment Report, and provide an example of how to pin your report. To navigate to the Trust and Endowment Report from the FAST homepage, click on the Finance Reporting link under the Applications box on the right-hand side of the screen. From the Finance Reporting homepage, click on the Non-Research Report menu and select Trust and Endowment. You are now at the Filter screen. From here, you can select how you want the report to run by choosing filters. You can filter this report based on department and fund, or run the report wide open based on your department security. Remember, once you run the report, you still have the ability to apply or change filters. Filters can be added by entering a value in the search box and clicking on the green plus button. Individual filters can be deleted by choosing the value in the filter box and clicking on the red X button. All filters can be cleared by clicking the Clear All Filters button at the bottom right corner of the screen. To choose a date, click on the drop-down menu to choose a specific month-year. Or click on the Function button to select a specific period, such as current fiscal period or last fiscal year end. Once you have selected the applicable filter criteria, click on Execute Report to run your Trust and Endowment Report. The Trust and Endowment Report is sorted in ascending order by department, fund type, and fund, as indicated by the arrows at the top of the columns. I will now explain the different features of this particular report. Remember that the filter trail is always visible at the top of any report, allowing you to view the filters you had selected for the report. Opening capital balance represents the carry-forward amounts for endowed capital contributions and recapitalized income. In-year capital contributions represents capital contributions from period 1 to 12. Ending capital balance is the sum of opening capital balance and in-year capital contributions, and provides the balance as of date criteria specified when the report was generated. Opening unit balance represents the carry-forward amount for endowment units. In-year unit purchases represents units purchased throughout the year as a result of in-year capital contributions. Ending unit balance is the sum of opening unit balance and in-year unit purchases, and provides the balance as of date criteria specified when the report was generated. Opening surplus deficit represents the carry-forward expendable amount for the applicable fund department. In-year expendable equity represents any in-year transactions to expendable equity. Annual interests represents the annual interest allocation for endowed funds processed by financial reporting. In-year interest represents the interest earned on units purchased within the current fiscal year. In-year transfers represents in-year revenue transfers. In-year revenue, including transfers, represents all in-year revenue activity, including revenue transfers. In-year revenue excluding transfers represents all in-year revenue activity excluding revenue transfers. In-year expense represents all expense activity for the current fiscal year. Finally, ending surplus deficit represents the sum of opening surplus deficit, in-year expendable equity and in-year revenue columns minus in-year expenses. You may drill down on any value that is hyperlinked for further details. There are currently 5 pinned reports that have been created from the main Trust and Endowment Report. To navigate to pinned reports, click on Finance Reporting at the top of your screen. Then click on Pinned Reports tab, go to All Public Pinned Reports, then click on Trust and Endowment, and finally Created by William Dean. The 5 reports are Endowment Report, which shows opening and closing capital contributions, units and surplus deficit, as well as in-year revenue and expense activity. In-year endowment contributions and recaps, which shows all in-year capital donations and recaps for endowment funds based on department security. Trust and Endowment Deficit Report lists all trust and endowment funds that sit in a deficit position. Total endowment contributions and recaps shows inception to date capital contributions and recaps for endowment funds based on department security. Finally, Trust Report shows opening and closing surplus deficit and in-year revenue and expense activity for all trust funds based on department security. Any report that has a graph next to it is available as a graph on the dashboard. Please note that these 3 reports are available on the non-research dashboard and as public graphs. The Trust and Endowment Report is a prime example of a report you may wish to pin with specific criteria that meet your individual needs. I will now walk you through the process of creating a pinned report. In this example, we need to report specifically on restricted trust funds. Restricted trust funds start with a 5. Since you're reporting on trust funds, you don't require the columns that refer to endowment funds, such as capital contributions and units. The first step is to run the Trust and Endowment Report wide open using current fiscal period as your date criteria. It is important to select current fiscal period to ensure that your pinned report will always run on current data. Click on Execute Report. Once you have your report results, apply filters to the Fund column by clicking on the column. Once the drop-down menu appears, select Apply Custom Filters and enter the number 5, followed by the % to view only the funds that begin with a 5. Finally, click on Apply Filters. The last step is to hide any columns that you don't need to see on the report. You can hide columns one at a time by clicking on them and selecting Hide this column from the drop-down menu. Or you can hide multiple columns at once by clicking on the Plus More tab, selecting Advanced Options, and unchecking all the columns you wish to hide. Click on Execute Report to run the report again. Your report now contains the specific filter criteria that you require. To pin this report, click on Save As at the bottom of the screen. Give your report a name, as well as a description. Please note that the description is optional. Finally, click on the floppy disk icon to save your report. A message indicating that your report was pinned successfully should appear. Your report is now available in the My Pinned Report section of the Pinned Reports tab. You can add this report to My Favorite Reports by clicking on the star symbol. Please note that the Trust and Endowment Report is also available directly from the My Queen's U Solace portal. To access the report, log into the portal using your QueensNet ID and strong password and click on My Applications. The link to the report is available in the Financial Reporting Information section under Department Reports. Thanks for taking the time to watch our video tutorial on the Trust and Endowment Report. More video tutorials on the FAST Financial Reporting tool are available through the TRAC and the Financial Services websites.